So in today's video, we're going to talk about getting into a great music school. This is one of the most important decisions that you're going to have in your musical life. And in some ways, it will set you up for future success. Now, choosing a great music school is a little bit like choosing your life partner. It's a very difficult decision that will have huge ramifications for the rest of your life. So you need to get it right. You need to really think about what music school will be right for you. Now, the other really important thing to remember is that some conservatories will work great for some students and not so much for others. You have to really go to the trouble to learn about the school and figure out what the right fit would be for you. So in this video, what I'm going to do is give you the top 10 tips for how to prepare and some things to really consider along your audition journey so that you'll be able to get into the music school of your dreams. Okay, so the first most important thing is to look at the audition repertoire on the website. Now, a lot of the top conservatories are going to have the same kinds of stuff. For undergrad, it's going to be a classical sonata, a romantic piece, a Baroque piece, and a 20th century piece, maybe an etude. But you need to look carefully at what the repertoire is. And then once you have 4 or 5 schools that you've chosen you're going to audition at, make sure that you've looked to make sure what the common pieces are. So you can use those common pieces throughout those various schools. So tip number 1, make sure you really know what the audition repertoire should be. So the second aspect that's so important is you need to find a great mentor or teacher that can help prepare you for this audition journey. Now, maybe the teacher that you found has gone to some of these schools already. Great.
Yes!
Or maybe they've sent students to those schools in the past. Fantastic. Yes. But if they haven't, then you need to make sure that this teacher really understands your goals and why you want to go to these great music schools. This teacher needs to be encouraging, of course, but also needs to give you very exact details after each lesson about how to get better. You know, you're the one doing the work, and so it's important that the teacher gives you very exact details so that week by week you get better, month by month you get a lot better, year by year you're off to the races, as they say. So number 2, make sure that you really find a great musical mentor. All right, the next aspect is to prepare, and to prepare early. But how early, you might say? Well, very early. Let's say that you have an audition that comes up in March, a live audition. That means that by December 1st, you need to be able to play your program through. Not just play your program through, but you need to call up your local church and say, hey, I need to play a small concert. Can you organize this for me? Call up your local nursing home and ask and donate your services as a pianist and play some of your repertoire. You need to feel unbelievably fluid with your repertoire by December if your audition's in March. The reason for this is when you finally get to one of these great music schools audition, the whole audition is going to be just 20, maybe not more than 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. So you have to be extremely fluid in whatever circumstance you're in. And the only way to do that is to start early and to prepare early. So the next thing that's so important is that you need to make sure that you find repertoire that really speaks to you, repertoire that really speaks to your advantages as a musician. Now, everyone has advantages and disadvantages as a musician. That's just the way life is. But these pieces that you choose should resonate with you in a very deep way, and they should highlight all of the wonderful things that you're able to do as a musician. So choose wisely your repertoire and really take the time to figure out what kind of musician you are and what kind of musician you want to portray during your audition. The next thing that's so important is that you choose pieces that are not too difficult for you. You need to find pieces that are highlighting your strength as a musician, but not too difficult. I can't tell you how many times in juries we've heard pieces that are way too difficult for the pianist And of course, the pianist thinks that, well, they should play the hardest piece imaginable, but the point is they need to play that piece well. If they don't play the piece well, it doesn't really matter how hard the piece is. You need to make sure that the piece is played as great as you can, as expressively as you can, and perhaps even more important, that your true voice comes through in that piece. So do not choose pieces that are too hard for you. Next, make sure that you pick pieces that are unique to you. So for instance, if you're Chinese, why don't you pick a Chinese contemporary piece as part of your audition? If you're Indonesian, maybe you find some kind of gamelan-inspired piece that you can share. I think it's so interesting to pick repertoire that is unique to you. Find out about your own culture and don't be afraid to share one of those aspects in your audition repertoire. It will show the jury that you're not just another pianist, but you're actually unique in these ways. You're unique because you come from this background, you come from China, you come from Indonesia. You want to find repertoire that will speak to your culture if you can. Now, the other important point is you need to know the background of your pieces. I can't tell you how many times in auditions we've heard people play brilliantly, and then we'd ask them simple questions like, tell me about the sonata that you just played. And they look at us like we're crazy. You need to know the context of the music that you're playing. You need to know what are some other things that are happening in art around the same time. You need to know if this is Beethoven's middle period, what does that mean? If you're playing a piece by Debussy, what are some things that inspired Debussy in this piece? These are kind of things that you should be prepared to answer during your interview. All right, the next thing that you need to consider is take a trial lesson with the professors at the school. I can't tell you how important that is. There's no shame in emailing a professor beforehand and showing your interest in the music school, and then that professor will hopefully get back to you. But the important thing to remember in these trial lessons is that it's also a kind of audition. So the professor is trying to figure out what kind of pianist you are, and also the professor, most importantly, is figuring out, is this pianist flexible? Can this pianist change when I make a suggestion, etc., etc. So a trial lesson is a great way to get to know the professor that you're interested in studying with, but beware, because you need to make sure that you're very well prepared to make changes during the time. If you think about it, it actually is really great for the professor too, because the professor will only hear you in the audition, which is only going to be about 20 minutes, but now he or she can get to know you a little bit better one-on-one and try to understand your goals. So next tip, take a trial lesson with the professor. Next thought, make sure that you dress up for your audition, okay? This may seem like an obvious thing, but guys, wear something nice, wear a suit if you have it. Girls, dress as nice as you can. This is your first impression to the jury, so you want to look as professional as possible. And so just dress up. Don't show up in jeans and a shirt. That's not going to go over well, okay? All right, and the last tip to consider is get to your audition a day before, okay? Spend the extra money to get a nice hotel that's near the conservatory you hope to go, and make sure that you have a great rest, a great breakfast that morning of your audition. Maybe you go for a little run or have some exercise. This way you'll be able to not worry about getting an Uber that's 45 minutes away from the conservatory, but rather you can focus on the program and focus on all the things that you've been striving to do your best for this audition. So those are my tips for you all. Best of luck to you all in the audition season. If this is helpful for you, I sincerely hope it was, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye-bye.